Yep. So, very good morning and welcome to the Pacific session. We are here to start, but before we start, we have one quick photo session among the panelists and the moderator. So I would request our panelist moderator to be Glenn. Yeah, in the stage, please. But this is only the photo. Then after we will again start our formal session. So, huh? I'm confused now. So it's two groups. That's what I was saying. Like after the panel, all we are here, then we take the photo. Because you wanted everybody there. That's what I thought. No? We can do that. I think in the end we can do. Okay. Good photo. Yeah. And the photo is always you can take photo. Okay. Not a big deal. Okay. So thank you so much. Sorry for the confusion. Very good morning and. Again, welcome to the Pacific session. I would like to request all participants to be seated and make yourself comfortable. Oh, photo is already here. This is confusing. Okay. No, I think there's a fourth panel. You are in this panel too. Yeah. Oh, the message is not very clear. Huh? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Second panel. Okay. Why? I'm gonna stay here. Okay, thank you very much. Now, let me start now the phrase. This is third time. Okay, good morning. And welcome to this Pacific session of the Asia Clean Energy Forum. My name is Tika Limbu. I'm Principal Energy Specialist with ADB. I'm based in Port Moresby, PNG. So I'm very much Pacific Islander, I would say. And yes, this session is focused on the Pacific Islands issues and the way forward, obviously. And as we all know, Pacific countries, they have a very specific issues, the context, and pretty much vulnerable to natural disaster, climate change, cyclone, sea level rise, extreme heat, etc. So obviously, this first session would discuss about the preparedness of resilience infrastructure to cope with this natural disaster. And also, Pacific Island countries are very much dependent on imported fuel. And that also is a very much issue, and obviously very much exposed to the external shocks. So obviously we are going forward with the renewable energy, clean energy, and that's solar plus battery energy storage, etc. But obviously this technology also comes with the baggage. So how do we manage end-to-end this disposal of the batteries and other, and what is the preparedness, what is the framework, what are the policies, how are we getting ourselves ready? So those things will be discussed in the panel too. And so without any delay, the first panel's name is, the title is Resilience and Renewables Powering the Pacific's Green Frontier. And this would be moderated by my good friend, Aw Min Tuan. He is an energy specialist, also based in Pacific. He's also a Pacific Islander already, 25-30%. And obviously, I would request Mr. Tuan here and introduce his panelist. And you will be given 45 minutes to manage. And in 40 minutes, you'll get a yellow card. In 45 minutes, you get a red card. So I request that you manage within your time frame. With that, I hand over the podium and mic to Tuan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So actually, my colleague Tika said I'm 25% Icelander, but actually I must say I'm 100% already. I moved to Suva almost a year now, but in this I've been with Pacific for more than 2 years. I still remember in the night I get up by 4 a.m. to join meeting remotely. But now I'm happy to be in the Pacific, so that we are in the same time zone. We can call and talk anytime. Yeah. So it is my pleasure to moderate the first sections today, and I must say that the Pacific energy transition is unique. It is for the Pacific transition. It is not solely by global decarbonization goals, but it is fundamental about strengthening energy security, resilience, improving energy access, and ensuring affordable electricity to communities. So for today's sections, I'm very fortunate to have a distinguished panel representing from utilities, from governments, from finance and development partners. Before we begin, I would like to invite each panelist to introduce themselves in 30 seconds, 1 minute or less, including your name, organization, and one climate or energy system risk that keep you awake at night. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Tuan. I would like to acknowledge ADB for this great opportunity. My name is Beverly Maita, and I'm from the Solomon Islands, representing Solomon Power. And among the most various climate risks, sea level rise is particularly concerning for us because it threatens our critical power infrastructures in the vulnerable coastal regions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Dean. I'm the whitest Cook Islander out there. I'm from the Ministry of Finance. I'm an economist there, and probably, we're thinking about climate change, and for us, I think, like Beverly just mentioned, sea level rise is very important. Most of our people live within 1 or 2 meters of sea level, and most of our islands are atolls. But also, I think there's lots of second-order impacts that we need to think about as a tourism-based economy. The challenges that you might have as tourism changes with renewable fuels, and whether that works for us all the way in the middle of the Pacific.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ruchika, and I'm from ADB's Office of Markets Development and Public-Private Partnership, where we support governments in developing bankable projects, as well as enabling policies to mobilize private capital, as well as strengthen public-private partnerships. What keeps me up at night, the climate risk challenge, I think is really saltwater intrusion, which is linked to, in some ways, to sea level rise. Slow, systemic, and irreversible, but I think its impact on food security, public health, energy systems is enormous. So that would be giving me sleepless nights.
Thank you.
Morning all. My name is Jerome Miketa. I'm from Papua New Guinea, the National Energy Authority. I was similar to all the seats. One of the countries lost an island to sea level rise in cataract. So we're just not talking. We impacted by real challenges. So of the 600, now we are left with 599. So one of the biggest challenges as well is 30 years ago, our population was 5 million. Now it's 10 million. So I'm afraid if we bring more electricity to the homes, the population might grow. So we'll look at how we can manage the challenges with electrification.
Hi, my name is Luciano. I'm from Fiji, one of the small islands in the Pacific. What keeps me at night is earthquake. I look after hydro dams, and our dams are made out of earth dams, and earthquakes is the biggest risk.
Yeah, no, thank you, and thanks, Luciano. That also when I was moving to Fiji, Suva, I was looking for a high apartment in high. So that's all. Where I live, they have only up to fourth floor, and I'm trying to negotiate with the landlord. Okay, give me the highest, or even the roof. I can live there because it's such about 1 kilometer away from the sea. So I was concerning about that. But I mean, what we are trying to do, if we try to avoid that, we not shut out for the future. So we have to cope with it, face with this, and find a way to sort it out. Right? So now thank you all. So let's dive into the first topic. The Pacific utilities are increasing, facing Category 5 cyclones and coastal erosion, water intrusions, and extreme heat. So are the current infrastructure design standards still fit for the purpose, or do we need to fundamentally rethink how and where we build the power infrastructure? So Beverly, let me start with you first. From Solomon's Power's infrastructure perspective, how are increasing the climate risk changing the way utility design and protect the power infrastructures?
Thank you. For us, Solomon Islands, we are exposed to climate risk just like any other Pacific Island nation. And it is the reality that we face every day in our operations. And it already influenced the way we do operate, plan, and invest in our infrastructure. So there are 4 key main areas which Solomon Power has focused on to enhance the reliability and the reliance in the power infrastructure sector. So the first one is decentralization of electricity generation by increasing the generation capacity, and also we do distribution of solar hybrids into our provincial centers, which also supported by ADB. And also our current infrastructure is kind of like a mixture of old and new infrastructure. So we are currently upgrading our infrastructure as well. And that we do reinforcement. It is one of our current practice. Like for our critical infrastructures where relocation is not practical, we do elevate the sites and also provide flood walls and use corrosive resistant materials. And our final, the last is redesigning for invisible threat of extreme heat. Because we believe like some of the current issues that we experience in our infrastructures, it's due to the environmental factors. So we have to build sets to accommodate the equipment that we have on site to avoid this, mitigate the climate risk. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so those are 4 areas, a common practice in the Pacific. Now let me turn the question to Luciano. As Fiji, our EFL is pursuing a ambitious renewable energy transition program. So how is climate resilience influence EFL systems planning and investment decision?
Thank you, Tuan. Before I answer the question, I'd like to share some data with you. Right now, our peak demand is around 210 megawatt. Our generation capacity is around 255. Now, when we consider the 5% annual demand growth, these figures become alarming. And so now that has caused EFL to pivot to decentralization, like Beverly has mentioned, and also diversification. So right now, EFL is in negotiation and discussions with ADB and World Bank and all other development partners in getting us to that path. So we have plans to install around about 165 megawatt of solar, and at the same time upgrade our transmission network, and also work with adding more redundancy into the system just to maintain grid stability. But the real question I think should be asked is not on how is resilience influenced EFL, but rather it should be what are the obstacles towards resilience. And I think in the Pacific or in Fiji, in this case, is collaboration. We have frameworks not implemented. This is one of the biggest setbacks to moving towards resilience. We cannot achieve that if we are not working together. And the second thing I would mention is our tariff rates. Our dependency on import fuels is high. And like Fiji, heavily politicized. If we ask for a tariff review, it's very hard to get. You know, I've been having discussions with other colleagues, and the issue is not giving the loan. It's actually how bankable it is. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. So excellent. So what I'm hearing is that now resilience is no longer an just emerging consideration. It is becoming a fundamental planning and investment issues. So now let's turn to the another issues on regarding the renewable energy integrations. So many Pacific systems are rapidly moving toward high shares of solar and battery settings, storage. So what operations, no challenges are utility now facing in maintaining grid stability and reliabilities? So this is a question to Dean from the governments. Dean at the utility moving toward the more renewable and technology incentive systems. How do government views in the long-term fiscal and operational risk associated with this transition?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so it is going to be a big change, and I think Luciano, you make a very good point about the tariff reviews and being able to charge what is a fair tariff. I think that's something that we're going to grapple with as we go forward. But the transition is, I guess, the risk. The risk is that you change from a capital decision where you take a diesel plant to a capital decision where you're taking something with solar and batteries, or perhaps you do an IPP. And the IPP risk is, there's probably two main risks in the IPP kind of world. One is at that very initial contracting stage. You are contracting for something that's 10 or 20 years long. So you need to be very certain that you have got a very, probably an efficient price, because otherwise you're locking in 10 or 20 years of expensive technology for your for yourself as a utility and your customers. An IPP is great. It takes the risk off the balance sheet, which is something that I'm always looking at, is have you an efficient balance sheet. But then you've also got to think about, well, also the operational challenges are very significant, and particularly in our small electricity companies. In the Cook Islands, we have 50 people running our electricity system, which is very small. And so if you are transitioning to a new technology, then you've got a big learning curve, and maybe we might only have 10 or 15 engineers, and so that's a big challenge to upskill ourselves, and we might not necessarily have that capability to train on island. So then we have to collaborate across the region.
Yeah, thank you, thanks, Neil. So let me have another question to Luciano's. So Fiji is pursuing one of the Pacific's most ambitious renewable energy transitions. What operational challenges are becoming the most significant for EFL?
Thank you. Right now, EFL is yet to move into the large-scale solar space.
Not yet, but on the way.
Yeah, we're on the way. But I'll give you an example of one of the pilot projects that were installed at one of our islands, And there are two particular challenges that we face in operation. One is technical, which is system integration or grid integration. The issue is not with BESS, is not with PV. The issue is with the control system that operates these two components. This is very important. People do not talk about. This is the underlying factor, which is a control system, and also the operating modes on which these systems operate on the grid, because these systems are running in parallel with hydro stations. And the second issue that we have is in terms of policy. We do not have a policy to reflect system integration, especially for solar in Fiji. And that's something that we need to work on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So now clearly the renewable energy integration is not simply a technical challenges. It is, it requires operational readiness, institutional capacity, and also long-term financial sustainability.
Can I just add a point?
Yeah, please.
When you look at the issues that I've just mentioned in terms of technical, one of the things that you can derive from that is that we lack capability in terms of our local contractors, and even from EFL. And that is why we have had issues like that, because that project was actually fully funded and EFL had very little input into that. So when it was handed over to us, those are the issues that we have had. It's because local contractors do not have the capability for solar integration. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll come to a next topic on the Pacific presents some of the world's hardest operating environment for renewable energy systems. So what lessons are emerging regarding the batteries, degradations, corrosions, maintenance, and long-term technology performance? So now let's chat a little bit. We've been asking views from utility. Now we'll return to ask this question from the investor or developer side. Let me ask Ruchika from an investment perspective. Now, how important are technology's performance risk, and the long-term operation and maintenance considerations when financiers assess the project viability?
Thanks for that question. And I think Luciano's experience of what's happening on the ground sort of speaks to this. But I think to answer this, let's just put into context what is the baseline operating conditions that we see in most small island developing states in the Pacific. Now, I think it's quite pertinent to say that many of the Pacific Island utilities are actually, operating small and isolated grid systems that have very limited or, perhaps no reserve capacity available. So even if you have one generating unit that is inoperational, that can have a huge impact on system stability. That's one point. The second, of course, is that, utilities are, as was being shared, are also faced with limited technical resources and O&M capacities. And I think, again, leading on to Luciano's live example, this becomes particularly relevant as we are looking at more and more complex RE and BESS systems coming online. So that's the second sort of point I'd like to share in terms of what is the baseline operating conditions we are looking at. And I think last but not the least is the tough operating conditions that Pacific Islands have in terms of high humidity, saltwater corrosion, extreme weather events, also exacerbated by supply chain issues and logistics constraint. Now, against that backdrop, for lenders, technology performance risks and O&M considerations actually become more important than upfront capital costs. And the question that most lenders would look to answer when they evaluate a project is not whether a certain technology can support the construction of a project, but can it also support the reliable operations over time. At the end of the day, lenders look at bankability, where bankability is nothing but the certainty of revenues being realized over the term of the project. So I think in that context, absolutely. For lenders, it's not just the upfront capital cost, it's not the speed to completion, but it's really looking at the performance risks of the technology, of the O&M capacity that become quite relevant. And some of the parameters and that become quite important as we look at project structuring is how has the project been structured in terms of O&M plans and budgets? What are the plans being put in place to upskill the utilities and to support capacity building? And I think another point which is often taken as sort of, secondary to the main issue is really spare parts and inventory management, and what is being done to ensure, given the logistic challenges that the Pacific Islands face, that there are enough spare parts available, that there is a recognition of what's the inventory that needs to be maintained, and what are the supplier sort of arrangements that have been put in place to avoid prolonged outages and losses. So I hope that addresses the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting. So now let's turn the question to Donald from the PNG National Energy Authority, from the regulatory perspective. So Donald, should the Pacific countries begin adopting a more region-specific technical standards for renewable energy infrastructure?
Thank you, Thuan. I think I'm privileged to be sitting right next to our chairman for Opera. Dean is the chairman for the Office of the Pacific Energy Regulators. We, of course, with support from ADB, we set up the Opera, and we trying to harmonize all the standards in the Pacific. If you look at the northern, they use the North Pacific, they use the US standard. In the south, we adapt the Australia and New Zealand. So we need to harmonize the standards across the Pacific, and we appreciate and thank the ADB for setting up and supporting Opera. So we will have our next Opera meeting in Brisbane next month or in August, and it's chaired by Dean from Cook Island and PNG and I think Fiji, the deputy chairs. Now, if you look at the Pacific, for us, Pacific people are very relaxed people, compared to the ASEAN region. And technical capacity is one of the challenges. For Cook Island, everyone wants to go to New Zealand. For even for Fiji and all of Pacific, we want to go to Australia and New Zealand, and no one wants to stay back in the island state and serve the people. So we need, our call is on our big brothers in the Pacific to be serious on the technical support. We want genuine, authentic, Pacific way of doing things. One of the classic example on project financing, Tina River Hydro is a 15 megawatt hydro, and the project is already costing 270 million US on a 15 megawatt hydro. We need serious partners. In PNG, we got 20, 30 plus solar system and best suppliers. And you look at the technical capacity, the OEM, the spare parts, you have to get 20 different training on those standards. So we need to harmonize and have a single system that's working for the Pacific, so that a solar technician from PNG can go and service a solar plant in Solomon Island. So those are some of the challenges. And for PNG, we got 600 islands, smaller compared to Solomon. Solomon Islands, they got almost 1,000 islands. Of course, we have the Philippines, 7,100 islands. But of the 600, the coverage is only, say, 5% of the islands got access. But we've been telling the islanders, if you are relaxed and you got no power in your home, you are lazy man. You got to work and feed your family and provide electricity. So we're not looking out, we're looking within. Our own government's budget, look within our technical capacity. So with our utility company, PNG Power, they have set up the training center for electricians. So in Papua New Guinea, it's quite bigger than the others. We got almost 7,000 electricians. So our electricians must be trained so that they can serve in the Pacific. But most of them want to go to Australia because of the dollar. So probably some of the policies would be on how do we incentivize those technicians so that they can be encouraged to stay back in the Pacific. So the policy interventions are on there. And the National Energy Authority decentralization is one of the key policies that we are driving to give access to those districts, islands, and provinces to run their own mini grid system that stand alone. And of course, we are providing technical support through our utility company and IPPs on grid readiness study, smart grid system for micro and pico grid system, which is compatible to the islands, so that it encourage the island way of doing things, encourage tourism. Our family don't have to go fishing there every day, so there's cold storage supported by solar and BESS. So a lot of things happening in the island, but we want genuine partners. One classic example on a system that we have was built by the Koreans. It's a solar BESS, 80 kilowatt PV and 120 BESS with a backup generator. And manuals and everything were written in Korean, so our technicians were only following what they were told to do, but not within the manual, but the actual visual way of doing things.
So, yeah, okay, thank you. No, no, well, when
I still have 15 minutes, so I thought
no, so
I'm the
we'll
last
have
person
some
to.
more questions. I mean, for the standardized technical standards is something we're looking at in the near futures. Like your technical supply, you can come to New Zealand, Australia, elsewhere. But how you get rid of the renewable energy waste and when it reach to end of life is some big question that we're all discussing something not on this room. So thank you. Let's turn to another key important topic we would like to discuss today. That the Pacific has been many successfully for non-funded renewable energy pilots. But question, but scaling up the investment remains difficult. So what is preventing the transition toward larger bankable and programmatic investments? So for this question, I would like to ask Dean from the Ministry of Finance, Cook Island for Finance, that from the public finance perspective, what are the key financial or institutional constraints government face in scaling up renewable energy investments?
Yeah, well, thank you. And I think, across, all the fellow panelists have covered many of the important points, but probably the one thing that, thinking at a fiscal level for the government is, we think about our fiscal space and how much money we have to spend. And, certainly coming out of COVID, many of us in the Pacific have faced stretched budgets. We've taken a lot of support, grants, loans to get through that COVID period. And we're coming out, but we still don't have a great deal of fiscal space. I've seen estimates for our utility in that for the next probably 5 years, their capital requirements would take up about 40% of our total capital spend for the entire country. And that's just in, one part of it.
Yeah.
So, we'd be philosophically, I'd be happy to loan that money, to fund that, but then you have to actually still have to pay it back. Yeah. And so that's, I think, one of the most important things. And I think Ruchika said this is it's the bankability of the deal. Our deals are really small, and so there's a lot of fixed costs that go into bringing those up, which increase the cost. And also, we're thinking about a 10, 20-year deal. Do you have that the ability of the utility to pay a fair price?
Yeah.
Or if they choose to subsidise it, then there's an ongoing subsidy regime that you can afford to it. Just sort of thinking about our debt repayments over the next 5 years, they are still significant, maybe 5 to 10% of our government budget, and that's something that you need to think about. Unless you have a really stacked balance sheet in your utility, but I don't know many countries that have a really fat balance sheet in the utility and they fund it out of equity. But I think it's efficient to fund it out of debt. But then it's just
So in the long run, to scale up investment, I think because in the many Pacific countries now still government subsidize for the tariff and the utility. But in the long run, let's need to ensure the tariff adjustment to the recovery costs that to ensure the sustainable
There's
investment.
probably just one point that I might like to make is that the Pacific features probably not at the top of the list that you want to see, but we feature many of our countries are in the top 10 most expensive electricity prices in the world, and yet our per capita incomes are near the at the lower end. So it's a really difficult position to get into where there's a long-term relationship between cheap power and economic growth, and so that's one of our challenges.
Yeah, let's talk about that separately. I come from communist country, socialist communist countries. So we used to have a situation at the time like this between the government and people, this and that. But let's talk that separately. I have some experience from being end user, from being the IDBs, now the developers, and also from the utility side. So I'm wearing three hats. And then when I come to a particular room, now we'll have different discussions. So let's talk that separately. So now let's ask Ruchika from the market development perspective. What are the biggest barriers preventing Pacific utilities from moving beyond pilot project toward the scalable investment pipeline?
Thanks, Tuan. At OMDP, as transaction advisors, that is exactly the work we do in identifying these barriers and then working with the governments on how do we address these barriers from moving from pilot projects to scalable investments where we can actually mobilize more private capital. Personally, for myself, I've been involved quite closely with Micronesia, with RMI, and with Palau. So I can share some perspectives, and we do see some of these common features across most of the Pacific states. So I'll sort of, and I'm mindful of time, so I'll be brief, but I'll split the barriers into two parts. One is on the demand side, and one is on the supply side constraints. I think on the demand side, it's not news to anyone. When we look at the scale of projects, we're looking at really small scale projects. Often the demand growth can be flat. As well as the overall power consumption patterns are quite low, which also limits the ability of potential investors to think about realizing economies of scale. So that's one part we see. I think the other, and this was touched upon by one of the panelists, is the affordability of the consumers, which limits the ability to achieve any meaningful increase in tariffs over time, thereby impacting cost recovery. And that has a significant impact on the investors' confidence on the long-term revenues that they can realize from the project. There could be another, host of reasons, but I think I just, in the interest of time, just want to focus on these two. Scale of projects, their ability, its impact on economies of scale, and the ability, the investors' confidence on the revenue stream owing to the stickiness of the tariffs and the inability to raise tariffs over time. I think that's on the demand side. On the supply side, if we were to pivot to that, and I think one of the key things that we see is the lack of capacity of the utilities when it comes to project preparation. And I think as having done extensive work in this area, I can't emphasize enough the importance of project preparation. So when it comes to conducting feasibility studies, resource assessments, environmental impact assessments, contractual structures, how do you achieve balanced risk allocation such that it's attractive to private sector? I think that's a huge gap that we see in the market, which at our team we look to address, which actually has a negative impact in terms of showcasing a pipeline of projects. So often the investor's view is limited to a single transaction, which is limited in scale. But because the utilities are often constrained in their capacity to take a much larger view in terms of project preparedness, investors are not able to see the visibility of what else can happen. Where is the pipeline of projects, not just in a country, but perhaps in the Pacific region? The other part, and I think I won't labor on this, is of course the financial constraints of the utilities in terms of the strength of their balance sheet, cost recovery constraints, exposure to fuel price volatility. And last but not the least, I think Luciano mentioned in terms of regulation, is also the procurement and regulatory uncertainty that we see, which also has an impact in terms of the investors' confidence to move from pilot projects to scaling that up. But I think I just want to leave on a slightly positive, well, on a much more positive note to say that, all is not doom and gloom. And this is exactly the space where a blended finance can play a role in sort of de-risking or mitigating the risks which private capital cannot take upfront. To sort of address some of these constraints and to really create that pipeline of opportunities which can help move projects in the Pacific from staying at pilot and really moving to larger scalable opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we have discussed resilience, renewable energy, renewable integrations, operation readiness, technology performance, and financing challenges. Now I would like to open the discussion to the audience and hear from perspective across the Pacific and beyond.
Moderator, I think I want to make one comment before you go to the audience. You see, I disagree with Rosaka and all the technical team who come up with all the fancy words. You see, we don't need de-risking facility. Our demand is 5 megawatt, 10 megawatt. What are we de-risking? It's not utility scale. That's why we need genuine partners in the Pacific.
Thank you. Thank you. Now let's take question from audience. So if now while you are thinking, let me put a question to everyone in the room. That looking across the Pacific regions, do you think how realistic is 100% renewable energy for the Pacific utility by 2030 or 2035?
Again, for the Pacific, aggregation is key. We cannot go alone as a country. We need all Pacific Islands to stick together. So during the Pacific Energy and Transport Ministers meeting in Port Moresby a few weeks ago, we agreed on the Pacific Energy Security and Resilience at the FASRIP 2. So I want all your partners to go back and have a look at the FASRIP 2 outcome. And for us to look at the renewable energy scaling and utility scale, or even look at the grid assessment studies. 50 years plus of telling us that we have to be resilient. We've been resilient. We are resilient people. We need actual projects. Other partners been telling us their funds is there, but you got to come up with all these programs. It's very close, yet too far. So we want actual tangible programs, but how do we scale up in the Pacific? So that's by aggregating. If we can have all the Pacific Island with back-to-back, projects, as if you look at how it's done in Maldives or Mauritius, like ADB and World Bank are doing. So if we can the line of projects that's clearly in pipeline, that's bankable, we can rally all partners in some sort of a syndicate arrangement. So those some of the discussions I want to leave with the team.
Thank you, Roro. So we're running out of time. So before closing the session, I would like to conclude a quick questionable question to each panelist here. So by 2030, what is the single most important technology, institutional reform, or policy change that will have transformed the Pacific energy landscape? So let's answer in one sentence.
Thank you, Tuan. A policy for proper disposal and recycle of the renewable energy in the Pacific. Thank you.
Thank you. Disposal.
Well, that was stolen. I was going to say the same thing, but so then probably my number one would be, I guess, coordination and coordination of regulatory standards across the Pacific. So you can put a solar battery system in PNG or in Fiji or on the Cook Islands, and it's just the same, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time.
Thank you.
Okay, so you took mine. So I think sort of just an offshoot from yours, I think would be really spare parts and inventory management to make sure that you can avoid long-term outages and losses, which goes back to, I think, the point being made around regional cooperation. So I'll put my bets on that.
Thank you.
I think I've shared a lot, so I'll pass it on to.
Thanks. For Fiji in particular, it would be AI, integrated grid management system. Now we are moving into the large-scale solar space. I think that is essential for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, since now you're saying that we need to focus on in managing the renewable energy assets through end of life, right? So that's something that at the IDB we also looking at over the last few years. For example, we're now conducting, trying to develop a kind of a guiding document for the utilities when they prepare the investment so that when they prepare from the procurement until implementation construction and how to manage the assets until the end of the life. So we hope that in the coming time we would be able to have something meaningful or valuable for the Pacific utilities, and we will coordinate with SPC and the PPA Opera on this matter. Yeah, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me thanking our distinguished panelists for a very insightful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much for the very lively session number 1. And thanks for the panelists for very insightful discussion. Of course, we will summarize the takeaway later. And thanks to Tuan as well for handling this very, not difficult, but it's very challenging session. And it is, I really appreciate. And now we have session 2. And the title of the session is Closing the Loop, End-to-End Life Management and Infrastructure Circularity. And this will be moderated by my good friend, Mr. Roca, Sanda Roca. He's a principal energy specialist, also based in one of the Pacific Islands, and he's only 20%, not full, because you are only 6 months or so. Thank you so much, Mr. Roca. Over to you.
Hello? Okay. I'm going to sit down and unlike Tuan. Okay. Thank you very much for joining this panel. This is Closing the Loop, End of Life Management and Infrastructure Circularity. I thank Beverly from Solomon Power segueing into our panel discussion. Now, my name is Roka Senda. I am a principal energy specialist in the Asian Development Bank, based in the Solomon Islands, looking after a few of the countries down south in the South Pacific, including Vanuatu, Solomons, and Nauru. So just a short introduction. The Pacific's rapid expansion of renewable energy initiatives and import of electric vehicles is creating an emergent end-of-life challenge that remains largely unmanaged. While installed solar fuels and battery storage assets continue to grow, there are still no comprehensive systems in place around and across the Pacific Islands to safely manage this waste of solar panels, batteries, and the rapid increase in lithium iron, and lead acid batteries. Now, unfortunately, end of life discussion is a relatively new topic for the utilities and the ministries, and so our discussion will be a little more general than Tuan's discussion on resilience and green frontiers. Now, so I'll just basically quickly introduce our panelists. We have Ms. Batirini Tamiane Taeke from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Sustainable Energy of Kiribati. Dr. Mansour Asaf from the University of South Pacific of Fiji. Ms. Marina Togiano of Niue Power Company, and our own Melody Avdin of the Asian Development Bank Emerging Market Group. So we have a good mix of government and utilities and education, the university, and also ADB. So I'll just throw out our first question. How are the islands currently managing waste in the energy sector? Are steps being taken to manage rapidly growing future waste from solar and battery energy storage systems? Is there any solutions that are being explored, and what are the current concerns about waste or waste of energy solutions? I'll maybe perhaps Ms. Batirini can have a comment on this first.
Thank you, Roka. Based on the question, and currently Kiribati has not yet addressed the issue. Like some of you may know that we are still in the initial stage of deploying the big solar farm. So it's kind of like failure for us. But however, I believe it is best to start planning early on addressing the issue. It is essential for seek the regional cooperation in making the system more effective and sustainable. The regional cooperation and external support, funding and technical, to like us in like Pacific Island, Kiribati cannot manage to address the issue by itself due to limited resources and financial. So I think it is best to, when it comes to think the better way approach in addressing the end of life from this system, and the regional cooperation and external support is the best way to achieve the system, the waste management system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Marina, maybe from the Niue perspective, if there's anything.
Like our sister from Kiribati has said, and thank you, Rock, for the question. This is a new topic for the island, especially Niue. Where we're going with the waste, I don't think we're going anywhere. But this is the time as a region and as a whole to work together to put the process through to the end of life management. And it's an interesting topic. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Mansour, maybe from the university perspective.
Thank you, Rocco. Good morning, colleagues, friends, and guests. I am Mansour Assaf. I'm from Fiji, and I am with the University of South Pacific. I was so happy to see many of my ex students who are doing very well today in life. Okay, regarding the question, Rocco. Okay, I believe the main problem with energy projects is not technical. It's mainly social, and it may be also political. I have an example of a project that went through all the phases, and when it reached the level of consultation, it stopped there. So I believe that the best way to target such kind of projects is to get the community involved from day one. Yeah, so to get it involved from day one, so the project can go smooth. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Perhaps from the financier's perspective, we could hear from Melody.
Thanks for that, Roka, and thank you for having me on this panel. It's actually quite encouraging to see that, of course, there are different stages. Every country in the Pacific is in a different stage, with Fiji at a much more advanced stage. We've also got Nauru, also quite an advanced stage, but we have Kiribati and Niue just about to see the issues that are facing us. We see the increase in energy waste. It's being amplified globally, and this is reported by the International Energy Agency. So globally, installed solar capacity has tripled over the past decade, and lithium-ion batteries deployment is scaling exponentially too. We've got a global energy battery demand exceeding 1 terawatt hour in 2024. We're about at 1.6 terawatt hour in 2025, and the projection is 3 terawatt hour by 2030. So that means energy storage is growing faster, even faster than electric vehicles. For the Pacific, this translates into increasing volumes of complex, hazardous, and low-value waste systems that are difficult to recycle, costly to transport, and often unsafe to store. I can give you 2 examples. We've got lithium-ion batteries. These are essential but difficult to recycle, chemically diverse, and these pose fire and transport risks. Whereas you've got solar on the other end of the spectrum, which has limited recycling value, which is their economic barriers to disposal. So these, from our perspective, of course, these are our current concerns about waste and the solutions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Now, you've heard about issues about the waste being something that needs to be raised. So perhaps when we're all racing towards 100% renewable energy, this basically means we're importing, future waste. And in the initial design of projects, perhaps we can integrate end-of-life planning and procurement of such strategies in the projects. How could the Pacific nations integrate such decommissioning plans into the very first stage of energy tenders? And what are the current gaps in the island waste management? That's maybe we could hear from the utility and ministry perspective. Ms. Batarini from Kiribati.
Thank you. As we move toward 100% renewable integration, in addressing the end-of-life management, and I think it is best to include it to what, like project contractors now are start implementing the solar system in Kiribati. So I think it is best to assess like instead of evaluating their project design in like rather than only looking the technical and specification, we have to assess them in they should incorporate the end of life management in the project too. So instead, in only assessing the technical performance and anything, and they should be assessed too that their project should include the end of life management plan. And that is how to make this more effective, like to manage this future waste.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Marina, do you have any comments on this?
My reply is the same as from Kiribati. As we move towards 100%, I reckon for every project, not only renewable energy, but there should be end of life assignment, and even from the suppliers, how to dispose the equipment and materials. Yes, that's.
Thank you. Dr. Mansour?
Thank you, Rocco. I believe again that the problem is not technological, and I'm going to talk about the gap. So the current gap is lack of life cycle thinking. The technology is being deployed here and there, but there is no proper planning. So there is no proper planning for end of life, especially of battery. Like we mainly talking here about the lithium-ion battery, which is very hazardous. It contains very hazardous materials, and I'm not really sure if everyone knows that the main enemy of lithium-ion battery is water. The main it touches the water, it goes into fire. The utilities in Fiji and the Pacific should move from disposal to circularity. In another word, we need to design systems where materials are recovered and not discarded. So we need like a loop.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This obviously is going to, affect the financing of these projects, and so perhaps a word from our, ADB side.
Thanks for that. I think we have to look at what the key advantages are, comparative advantage that the Pacific has, which I would say is it's the context itself. There are very limited entry points in the Pacific. It makes it quite feasible to track imports, assign responsibility upfront to the importer, and manage flows through a regional system. And I think this was touched upon in the earlier session with regards to Opera being quite well placed in having a regional reach. And maybe just a few examples of what Mr. Mansour had been raising about, there are practical analogs that already exist. In some countries, there's end-of-life vehicles are decontaminated and dismantled in country with valuable materials exported. These are baled and then sent to international markets. So there's an opportunity for that and for this to be regionally brought together. There's also lead-acid batteries collected domestically and exported, and there's a well-established regional player such as the Pacific Batteries in Fiji that still have space to scale up their recycling capacity because, of course, feedstock would be one of the limiting factors. But from a regional perspective, if this is utilized as a mechanism, then can play the role for the region. So these models can be adapted for lithium-ion batteries, renewable energy waste, with added complexity due to this chemical diversity and safety risk, as was raised earlier. So what it requires is pre-treatment and neutralization solutions prior to shipping. So these can be managed. It's just ensuring how we can provide the support so that's well understood.
Thank you very much. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is relatively new for the ministries and also obviously for the utilities. Well, and some sort of regulations may perhaps be necessary. So, just wanted to throw this out to our colleagues from the island nations. What is the importance of the regulatory frameworks? And perhaps, Ms. Batterini, if you could comment on this.
I believe the regulatory framework behind this, it's the key foundation. Like, we cannot make this effective unless we have the law enforced. We know as people, we tend to use the system, just use it and then leave it. But when there's what the law enforced behind it, we're more committed to make it happen, like to manage our waste more appropriately. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Marina, maybe from Norway?
Regulatory frameworks are important not only for us as the utility workers, but it's also enforcing the law for our environment and our community, and to make sure they understand and how important it is to have a framework and a regulatory.
Great. And I guess, as a financier of the Pacific, Melody, you have a perspective of a more macro perspective. Maybe you could just give us a little insight of that.
Oh, of course. Many, if not all, of course, all Pacific countries already have policies and foundational policies in place, including extended producer responsibilities, import levies, and container deposit legislation. However, we know that there are structural constraints, small volumes, geographic dispersion, and high transport costs. We have examples, of course, where transport internationally outside of the Pacific is actually at the same cost as transporting it within the region. And so these are the things that we need to think of as we're going through developing these policy and regulatory frameworks. This makes recycling often not economically viable. So as a result, waste accumulates and a viable recycling industry has not emerged to scale at this time. So here ADB is not trying to introduce new concepts. We're rather operationalizing an agenda that's already developed by our interregional organizations and regional partners. So the focus that we have here is implementation. Here within ADB, not only within our team, but also our urban and water team, there's a project or a program that's being put forward of the Circular Pacific via a regional recycling network called CPRN. These addresses the bottlenecks across the value chain and makes recycling financially viable at scale, not only focused on energy waste, but waste as a whole, bring the region together to support the waste, the full cycle.
Okay, great. Thank you. We've heard earlier in some of the comments from our panelists that having pooling resources together, working on this on a regional scale is something, an option or something that can be explored. What are the? I just want to throw this out to you. What are the practical solutions for small island countries? Can the region work together in pooling resources and perhaps, working with established regional disposal recycling facilities, for instance, in Australia, in Hawaii, or in Japan? Is that if that's an option? And Ms. Matterini, if you could comment on this.
Yes, like what I have mentioned in the first question, like we really we highly depend on the regional cooperation and external support in making this more effective and sustainable. So yes, for example, like establishing the facility, the recycling facility in one of the Pacific Island rather than building our own, because it is not, the volume of our solar waste is not, it cannot support the whole process. So it requires us like to work and cooperate with the other Pacific Island in the shipping, to reduce the shipping cost in re-exporting this solar waste. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Dr. Mansour, I think you mentioned earlier about the pooling regionally.
Yeah, I believe a practical solution for the Pacific is like to share waste management facilities in different islands. This will reduce cost and complexity. I also believe, like especially in Fiji, we do not have a digital tracking system to identify batteries, for example, and other like PV systems. So we need this kind of digital system to track where they are and who owns it, and to end of life and all that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Melody, do you have any comments on this?
Thank you. Just a few thoughts, perhaps. And as I said, it's not about ADB designing anything new or bringing things new. It's about supporting the implementation at scale. So it's building on work already advanced by these organizations that we work with SPREP, with SPC, with USP, and of course, all of our regional partners. And ADB can support on a number of things, the regional recycling and logistics, all including networks for low volume, high cost waste streams, financing mechanisms to ensure life cycle cost recovery, private sector participation where possible to include seed capital for recycling operators as already piloted in Fiji for the PET systems, infrastructure investment, including national storage, consolidation hubs and export pathways. And I think of key importance is risk mitigation, including addressing insurance constraints for hazardous waste and transport.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we've heard a lot about what the issues are in the small island countries. There needs to be an established, I guess, regulations and all that, and the opportunity to perhaps pool these issues into more regional I guess efforts would be more efficient, given that if you do include this issue into designing a project, it basically costs money to do so. So moving forward, when ADB and other development partners do design projects, this will definitely be one of the issues that needs to be resolved on a larger, I guess, more serious scale. Now, having said this, just like to give the participant, the observers, any time to comment or question our panelists, if there is any. Yes, in the back.
Hello, good morning. I'm Angel from the Philippine Energy Research and Policy Institute. I came across this in the post of Forum for the Future and CREST. So in their material flow analysis, it puts a number on the waste. By 2075 in the Philippines, it's about 86 to 117 megatons of cumulative solar, wind, and battery waste across the Philippine archipelago. And to have a picture of it, it's roughly the volume of 40 SM Mall of Asia complexes. So while this is 2075 projection, decades away, the decisions that shape it are being made now and should be made now. So from the speakers and experts' perspective, what can you recommend to the Philippines on how we can deal with this? And what should we do? Thank you very much.
Perhaps I can share a few thoughts on that. I think waste, as we know, not only energy waste, but waste in general is a global issue that we all face. And of course, the archipelagic nature of the Philippines, and of course, similar to the Pacific, of having to essentially manage most of your waste locally is a key issue. And so when you talk about legislation, when you talk about, for example, the regulatory framework, I think that's where our first key entry point is. I can talk a little bit of how ADB has provided some support through some policy-based loans or a policy-based loan on end producer responsibility, and also with regards to supporting the Philippine government to ensure that steps are being taken to develop a pathway, to develop the framework, to develop the roadmap to be able to support this. So from that perspective, I think we always need to lean back on our government counterparts and provide the support that ADB, either through our advice internally or also with our partners, that we can provide to further the cause.
Does anybody else have a...
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, I believe it's a global issue, and so many solution has been proposed. One of the solution is to burn waste and convert it into energy, but that also comes with its own. It has its own pros and cons, because when you burn waste, you generate ash, and ash is also waste. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes.
Gordon Chang from the Pacific Power Association in Suva, Fiji. This is a question for ADB. When I was here last year, there was a presentation similar to this, and I think there was a company from New Zealand or Australia that was doing the collection and all. So my question is, what happened to that one? And then 2 weeks ago, like someone mentioned from PNG, I was at the ministers, energy ministers meeting. And I think that same issue came up, and I think SPREP, South Pacific Regional, they told me that they have funding from the ADB addressing the same issue. So, I mean, aren't we going to discuss that or let anybody from the utilities know? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I think it would be great if you could put the question into the WOVA app, and we can reach out to our colleagues who may have specific answers to the question that you raised. But perhaps maybe just a thought on it, because I have worked with essentially on the ocean health aspects, and also talking to SPREP a few times with regards to collaboration that we've had with SPREP and ADB. There's a stepwise approach to everything that we do. And of course, at every step, there are complexities that we need to to address as we go through. That perhaps it's taking a little bit longer, but I do understand, and I can give you the names of our colleagues that are working on this in the urban and water team, that are working specifically on this regional recycling network. You can ask the questions with regards to why are we not moving as fast as we could, and how we can service the region much faster. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Thank you very much to our panelists, and thank you for the interesting presentations as well. One question, not a question, but a request that I would probably like to make with regards to waste management. Over the years, I think SPREP has tremendously supported our Pacific Island countries in trying to manage their waste and come up with waste management plans. So there's a lot of work looking into mostly solid waste management and not so much on chemical waste, doing audits for that, understanding just how much waste has been produced from the homes, the business houses. So I think one of the requests I wanted to make to your team, Melody, would be if there should be some support along supporting the capacity building of Pacific Islanders in trying to perform audits for waste in that specific space as well, since we're trying to encourage our Pacific Islanders to look into renewable energy sources. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'll be able to take your comment back to the team and share it with them. But of course, I mean, our key deliverable is to support the region, and not for our team to do it or the consultants that are hired to support, but essentially to give the skills and capacity at the regional level so that the region can support the whole cycle. Thank you.
Okay, hi. I'm Keiju Mitashi. I'm the energy director in ADB. I'm looking after South Pacific, the Southeast Asia and the Pacific. So one other question, Gordon, I think you answer. Where are you? Oh, there you go. There you go. So I just add on what Melody said. So I'm more replying to your question rather than asking a question, if that's okay with you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so yeah, we had a session like this last year, and then it is quite a different context. But I think the discussion was that we don't have a solution to this waste management of renewable energy. So let's keep working. And there are a few ideas. And one of the ideas that we are working is with the urban team. It's about how do we manage the waste in general, not only the renewable energy or the recycling, but waste management in the Pacific. Can we look at more centralized approach because we can make use of the scale? And one of this will include the recycling. And can we include in this renewable energy waste? So this work is ongoing, and then I hope it happens. At the same time, what do we do within ADB on these waste management? First, we try to include in the contract of renewable energy deployment projects to make sure that at the end of the life of the assets, how the waste management will be handled. Likely after 20 years, maybe there's it's a different entity that's need to be covered. Not the one install the panels or the batteries, right? So those are the things that we include in the contractual requirements, so that there's a plan for waste management at the end of life of the assets. Can we do more? Maybe we should do more. And then one thing is about the more regulation part, about putting together the auditing standard on and that comes from more of the government regulation side. So there are different aspects of work that's need to do. One area we have to look at is shipping and the logistics availability of this. So right now, it's very difficult to ship out, especially lithium battery, out of the island countries. If we have a scale, maybe we can attract a shipping company who are able to bring different renewable waste through going around the different countries. Yeah, but these hasn't been explored yet. But I think this is one of the important questions that we have when we work on renewable energy projects. So hopefully we'll have a more discussion next year, or we'll have a more updates that we can share with you on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Keiji. Okay. We're almost out of time, so why don't I give the floor to Melody for the takeaway of this panel discussion?
Thank you. Thank you for that, Roka, and thank you, Keiju. Well, as we see, the objective is quite clear. We need to move away from fragmented waste management into a functioning regional circular economy system. So it touches on the questions and, of course, the concerns that were raised. It's where waste flows are managed, value is recovered, and risks are well contained. As we raised earlier, lithium-ion battery growth is exponential, and waste will follow the same trajectory. And how do we manage that? And the Pacific already has the policies in place, but it needs scale, it needs infrastructure, financing, and support the capacity to implement them. So ADB's role is to enable the system, financing, coordination, private sector mobilization where possible, and regional integration. And the CPRRN model demonstrates that managing waste is not a standalone issue. It requires value chain intervention from import to export. So just a few more things with regards to what a functional approach would combine. That regional asset registry, the Pacific Renewable Energy Asset Registry for tracking the panels and batteries from import to retirement, harmonized systems, second life frameworks, and regional consolidation and export hubs. And I think just as a key takeaway, of course, the regional coordination that's necessary to be able to implement this. Perhaps if I could just share one last thing, it's how can we keep it as simple as possible so that it's utilized well and is sustainable over time, recycling what we can, and focusing on that waste has value and how we can keep that value within the Pacific. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's basically our discussion. I'd like to thank all the panelists for participating today and for everybody here who was listening in. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, our esteemed panelists of panel 2 and my colleague Roka for handling this very brainstorming session. Obviously, this circularity of this waste, I think it was very, very, insightful, and it's a very good brainstorming. Maybe it's kind of the takeaway I think I found is like it's a procurement matter as well. Like while we design the procurement, because the life of the battery is a 10-year. So while we procure, it can be integrated in such a way that the disposal of the battery after the life could be again taken back to the factory, so that it will be circular, because they will have the capacity. Because in most of the Pacific islands, I think we have a capacity issues, and the handling of that, disposing of that, and the regulation and the management obviously would be an issue. So maybe, and while we do the procurement, maybe we can make the evaluation based on the life cycle costing, including the supply plus also taking up back. That's my idea. And number 2 that I found, Dr. Mansoor, I think you spoke my word. It's not a technical issue. It's a social and political, and because being a project man at ground, I think that's my word as well. So it's a very good takeaway. And for the first session, obviously, it was also very insightful. Yes, the Pacific Way was one of things that we found, because we have specific issues, sizes, and also the harmonization of the standard in the Pacifics. I think that definitely will be a good initiative, and that's happening, which is good to know. Other than that, I think overall, I really thank all the panelists, all our audience as well being with us, and it's already 12:30, so we have our lunch. I think we have lunch, no? We have a lunch at 12:30, so it would be in the EDR, or there are other in the courtyard. So I request all to be there and join and enjoy the lunch, as well as and then continue your participation in next session. So with this, I would like to request again to give a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you.